Harden after him again.
Brunson against Harden, almost pokes it away. Shot clock at 10. Brunson drives, pulls up, shot is up, bank shot is good. The Brunson burner has been high.
Cavs might want a timeout if he scores.
Brunson, three-pointer, puts it in.
Additional defender, and he caps it off with this three, which for me.
Anunoby fakes, drives on Harden, goes inside, draws some contact. Good defense from Merrill. Brunson drives, kicks it in the corner, Bridges three-pointer, bang! Three-point game, 1:22 with 7.5 to play. Anunoby floats it over to Shamet. Shamet a three-pointer. It's good! Tie game with 44 seconds.
Don't want to give up a three.
Brunson with Harden on him. Brunson on the drive, the floater, bank shot. It's good. Tie game again with 19 seconds remaining. Harden now picks up Brunson. Brunson brilliant in that fourth quarter. Drives, gets past Harden, gets inside. The floater's up and good. Jalen Brunson once again, and it's a 4-point nick. Shamet puts it up, puts it in. A 9-point lead, timeout Cavs.
Yo, James Harden, mama coming for dinner, nigga. Fuck James Harden, fuck them strip club. Get the fuck off the strip club, nigga.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Nerd Chronicles with your host, the socially awkward nerd Christian Paul speaking. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm in Cleveland right now, definitely on like a family vacation trip and definitely on like a family graduation ceremony. But this brings me to a point I really want to actually try and discuss about the legacy of one James Harden, who is a current member of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and how his legacy has shaped him to the person that he is today. And yes, it has some great moments, but unfortunately it has some horrific moments. Definitely not a line that we're literally talking about as to why every time that he's up on his team, he chokes. He puts little impact on actually helping win this team as he advance. Something that's actually extremely important. Whenever the chips come, when the block is hot, whenever C is on the line, especially something that's very meaningful, whenever he's like a lead dog or an assistant lead dog, he folds. You know what I'm saying? He don't actually put too much heat on, he make the clutch shots. But prior to me discussing more about James Harden, hard on erection, right? That's where we got the pronunciation from, and we are gonna actually just discuss more about hard on regarding that definitely later on in this video. But James Harden, okay, he is known to disappear. Basically, James Harden, the Mongol Slayer of basketball, and I want to give a shout out to Raw for TV, the Darth Apocalypse. Regarding that nickname, I want to try and give him credit for that. Regarding that, James Harden, this dude, this motherfucker right here, will be inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame based on his scoring statistics, based on his records that he actually broke. He passed Reggie Miller and Ray Allen literally for three-pointers made. He's definitely not going to catch Stephen Curry, but he's literally in the top 5 of three-pointers made, okay? He's literally up there. He's king of drawing fouls, manipulating calls to go his way when it comes to getting his way into the basket. He's known for transitioning the Euro step and making things all the way down the line to really trying to fool defenders based on what his next move is mainly going to be. He's very, very crafty with his shit. You know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of folks mainly call it the hard-on way, just like a normal erection. You feel what I'm saying? But this is some pros I actually want to deal with. throughout his whole NBA career, from him being a bench role player to elevating into a starting role and to literally being a superstar, definitely all the way across the NBA. James Harden has never, ever missed the NBA playoffs, not once in his career. And anywhere he goes, anywhere he hits, somehow he finds himself to another potential championship contending team, whether it's in the Eastern Conference or whether it's definitely could be in the Western Conference, definitely for sure. In his 17 years playing the NBA, right? James Harden is currently 36 now. He should be turned 37 sometime this year, if I'm not mistaken. He is a legend in his own right, and who knows how much years he has left. He could potentially have a handful of years left within his career when it's all said and done, due to the fact that he may not have that much time left given the situation, due to some of his skills maybe diminishing, due to his speed and quickness not being as shifty as ways he used to 10 years ago, especially when it was with the Houston Rockets and at some point the Brooklyn Nets. You know, he's not there. But when playoff time comes around, and this has been a big issue that I've been having with James, okay? When playoff time comes in clutch moments, when it comes to the tougher teams and the other championship contending teams, James Harden becomes flaccid. You know what I'm saying? He loses his erection, okay? He loses his erection, basically being soft, basically choking in like key moments, not being the serve, actually just going for the ball, especially when he was like the lead man, being extremely dominant whenever he had the ball in his hand, actually just basically acting in desperation when it comes to game sevens or elimination games. He has trouble mainly closing out. He has mainly trouble mainly keeping his team alive just for them to advance, definitely beyond the semis, beyond the conference finals, whenever he's the lead dog. Now, in the NBA Finals where he advanced, James Harden was in the reserve role. He played his part, but Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant mainly carried the way around the 2011-2012 season. That's during the lockout season where they had the NBA lockout and once they faced the Miami Heat. But because they played way too much ISO ball and they don't even know how to actually share the rock or not provide any thorough chemistry, and the Eagles got onto their way, they got down. They end up literally getting lost. They're losing 4-1 to King James' Miami Heat. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, them guys, they were able to actually get their first championship out of that naive, youthful, and a little bit chokeful Oklahoma City Thunder. And about a year later, the next year, James Harden gets traded to the Houston Rockets, basically where he ended up literally emerging as the superstar that we mainly know today. You know what I mean? He ends up having his own championship contending teams that he is mainly led, that he's mainly held on to, but he has came up short every time that he was the lead man on those squads. Now, the Houston Rockets mainly gone. He's no longer the lead man. Fast forward to Brooklyn Nets, okay? He becomes more like the secondary or tertiary guy. He reunites with KD, but he meets up with Kyrie Irving. You know, Brooklyn Nets come in, things didn't really go well according to plan. You know, with the whole lockout situation, everything going on with the ownership and turmoil, I can understand why he wanted to be traded to Philadelphia 76ers. Fine. Fair game. He goes to Philly. He becomes the second lapdog to Joel Embiid and an emerging Tyrese Maxey, right? Things didn't really go well according to plan based on the money situation, given the facts. So, hey, he wants to play in his hometown, LA Clippers. Be the secondary lapdog or maybe the 1A, 1B alongside Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. But the tricky part of nature is regarding that low trade, the main reason why LA Clippers were able to acquire Harden because Paul George or Kawhi Leonard were frequently injured. And they got the steal from Russell Westbrook as well, which they were somehow able to ratchet up 50 wins during that time that all four of them were mainly together. Now, Russell Westbrook is gone definitely the following year, okay? And Harden gets traded mid-season to the Cleveland Cavaliers after keeping the LA Clippers afloat alongside Kawhi around 500. okay? And he got some swift things coming. He gets to be around Donovan Mitchell, which is the typical 1A. But as usual, as you saw with what happened in the Cavs-Knicks series in which they got swept, Harden has no effort. He gave no effort on that closeout game in which the Knicks really put belt to ass towards him, okay? And he got his ass handed to them by much of the Knicks throughout the whole series. And he couldn't even thoroughly defend properly. He had his numbers, he had his moments, but he couldn't really be aggressive and actually have proper form when it comes to actually defending the ball and actually defending his man. So that's where he's at with it. And outside the season, James Harden becomes hard on again and shifts away from his flashy self. Anytime he literally comes out to party up in the club, party with some strip clubs, find a way to actually literally try to bone strippers, blow a lot of money fast, blow up thousands, blow up many racks, just to try to have a stripper come to his bed, or even try to maybe seriously commit to one stripper, or some random IG model that he wants to bone frequently. And that's how James Harden mainly comes into play, because you want to try and get them strippers, you want to fuck as many strippers as he possibly can, given that nature, given his tendency mainly being in strip clubs in Houston, New York City, Philadelphia, LA. Who knows? He's known for actually having a habit, hence why he's Mr. Harden. Okay? Mr. Chocolate Records, you know what I mean? Mr. Chocolate Records and James Harden that want to try and find some way to release outside the court instead of actually releasing his frustrations on that ball, literally inside that game, to try to advance the NBA Finals and potentially help his Cavs literally win the title. But again, because he chokes as usual, he pacifies out as usual, he plays a little defense, he's not as aggressive as actually trying to lead his squad, trying to advance, actually trying to literally take him out of elimination. That's the legacy that's really going to stick with him for literally the rest of his life. Now, Donovan Mitchell, I will say to him, and I want to try and just keep it minimal, he had a little bit of an accomplishment because he did go to his first NBA Conference Finals, but still he has other work to do. I'm not going to actually try and discuss more about it just yet because he's still in the prime of his career. But Harden, given this story, given this legacy, and given this mindset, I would not be surprised if this type of shit mainly follows him mainly for the rest of his life or the rest of his NBA career. Should he retire? If he retires, I actually want to say if. The question when he retires, assuming he does not go to another NBA Finals or win another NBA championship, who knows? That type of legacy will literally stick with him throughout his whole career. That's what his legacy is. That's who James Harden mainly is. Okay? That's who he is regarding that. And he is going to go down as one of the greatest NBA players not to win an NBA title. Has a lot of playoff wins, has a lot of playoff successes, never missed the playoffs for the first time in his career. But he's going to be one of the greatest players to actually play the game without winning an NBA title. Okay? Unless he makes some other random trade that gets him to some different team where he becomes a bus rider for a top star. But who knows? Who knows what the future holds? I'm not Nostradamus. I'm no psychic. I don't know what's really going to go on, definitely with his career or how the Cavs are actually going to shape their roster up. I honestly don't know. And I got word that Kenny actually going to be staying. So who knows what happens, but we will see. But regarding James Harden, hey, that's going to stick with him for his days, assuming he does not win a chip. And I believe it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Paul from the Chronicles is signing out. Deuces.
Yeah.